I'm Sarah Meni-Gibbet and this is Federica Duca, and we are the editors of the recently published book, State-Society Relations Around the World, through the lens of the Covid-19 pandemic, Rapid Test. Rapid test is a play on words, a reference both to the medical antigen test for COVID-19 and then using the COVID-19 pandemic as a lens through which to diagnose contemporary state-society relations. It's a rich collection. We were lucky enough to get contributions from around the world across 5 continents, though a view from the South predominates. The book begins with a section that decenters the pandemic, each from a slightly different perspective. From Zimbabwe, for example, we have an unexpected finding about the impacts of the pandemic.
Thank you. So in making our point in this book, we use the context of Binga, which is a rural district in Zimbabwe, occupied by the Batonga people. So these are the people which have been living on the margin of the state. They've suffered so many displacements, relocations, and the presence of the state is not really felt in the district. So what COVID did, it further restricted the state to be present in the district. So what this meant was that people had free access to wild resources. They gathered all the wild vegetables, wild fruits during COVID-19. So what the pandemic did was lock away the state, but not really lock away the people from their livelihoods.
In making this point, we are not in any way, shape or form implying that COVID was a good thing. And we can't say that from a moral and ethical point of view. But we just want to bring to the silence that indeed there were contexts in which COVID as a pandemic did liberate certain social groups.
Part 2 looks at inclusion and exclusion, looking at social, economic, and political cleavages during the time of the pandemic. And it does so by taking cognizance of the neoliberal turn of the last 40 years. Part 3 addresses state capabilities and legitimacy, what informed the measures that states took, and were they accepted or challenged by the population.
The temporal dimensions of pandemic governance are really interesting. The last section of the book explores this theme. It looks at shifts and changes in citizens' trust in the state, questions of collective trust amongst the population, and solidarity.
We had started with the pandemic in 2020, and that whole year, the first year of the pandemic, feeling very connected.
And there was this enormous sense of common purpose and solidarity. And then for that to fragment over the next 18 months or so, it was something that really begged for analysis.
MOVE was, I thought, the apt framework to understand what was going on, because she does talk about solidarity to antagonism to agonism. At the heart of MOVE's framework, essentially, is that we shouldn't give up on democracy. For me, it was also a message of hope to try and understand conflict within a framework of democracy. When people, well, particularly popular discourse, was suggesting that we had gotten to the end of democracy, that we were as a society falling apart, MOVE gave us something to hold on to, and it was an analytical framework academically, but also, I guess, for us as citizens of New Zealand, emotionally, to make sense of what was happening to our society.
And MOVE reminds us that when there is too much agreement, where the opposing voices are suppressed, that is actually the position of danger.
And we think that the book is still relevant today, even beyond the COVID-19 pandemic. Firstly, it takes the reader out of a myopic and parochial view of the pandemic itself by offering a range of international case studies and perspectives from around the world.
It offers some quite sobering critiques of contemporary state-society relations, explores questions like what's the nature of democracy, the rise of populism, and the context of multiple overlapping crises, and a range of other contemporary questions.